Welcome back to Hometown Station, AM 1220 KHTS. This is Randall Winter Construction with Jeff Softly, just finished up from Softly Electric. Thanks again, Jeff.
You're welcome.
And now we're going to my friend, Jeff Brown from NV Landscape. How you doing, Jeff?
Doing better and better. Glad to be here, Randall.
Yeah, glad you made it back from Washington.
Thanks.
So how were the plants up there?
I want to tell you something, is that, it was a beautiful time to be there because the fall color is all over. All the trees are changing, so you've got the oranges, the yellows, the reds. It's vibrant. And, I've gone back east and gone to see the fall color. I'm telling you, I don't think I'd go across country to do it. I think I'll just run up to the Pacific Northwest and go see the fall color up there.
That's funny.
Cheaper.
I just got back from Tahoe this morning, and it was like all the way down 395, you'd see these golden trees.
Oh.
It's really pretty. All right, so we got a couple questions for you, Jeff, or some observations, I should say. How do you know what to grow in the various seasons and the various locations? What did you do to learn all this stuff? Were you just like the guy that dug the trenches at first, or how do you know all this?
Well, I was, but I did go to school from this. I do have the formal training in it, but I'll let you in on some secrets, so maybe it'll save you all those years of study.
Oh,
so
okay.
if you want to get some plants and you want to put the right one in the right location, you have to consider a couple of factors in there. First of all, you want to consider the plant zone. If you go by either Sunset Western Garden Book, they have zones in there, so it'll tell you if a plant can take the kind of temperatures where you live. So if we live out in Santa Clarita, I live in Newhall, we're a zone 18. And it talks about and mostly what we're looking for there are the low wintertime temperatures. You can also look, the USDA, U.S. Department of Agriculture, also has the U.S. plant zones. And the plant zones there use a different number survey. So like if you look there, we're between a 9A and a 10A.
Okay, so forget the U.S. and the federal government because they could be out of business tomorrow. Let's go back to that book because is that the Western?
Sunset Western Garden
That
Book.
is a great book.
I still use it. I've had it my whole career, have one on my desk. And for anyone out there, you can get it at the library, you can pick one up at a bookstore. It's a great resource to have.
Yeah, last time I gave it to my wife, I go, these are the plants Jeff said, and here's the book, look it up. But yeah, I think I had to use that to pass my C27 when I did that.
Well,
years ago.
It'll help you with your plant identification and so on. But
and they have all the Latin terms as well, if you speak Latin.
And we have common names and we have the botanical names.
Right.
And all the botanical names are very specific. And yes, you have to learn those because it identifies the specific plant exactly. Common names, there's no standard. So what we might call a plant, let's say in our neighborhood, is different from somebody else's neighborhood, that different plant. So while we use both because people are familiar with it, oftentimes you'll see, like on our proposals, we put the botanical name so that there's clarity, that people know exactly what they're going to get.
I thought you were just trying to confuse us guys.
Well, that's part of it too.
Oh, okay.
Hey, but let me tell you about how you know what plant is going to grow in an area.
Okay.
And oftentimes I'll talk to homeowners and they say they've tried over and over, tried umpteen different plants in this area. And to me, it's obvious why they fail. You need to choose, again, a plant that's going to be in the right plant zone.
Well, let me interrupt you if you don't mind, because I like to do that, right?
You do interrupt a lot.
Okay, good. So, why don't the nurseries just sell the stuff that works out here? I don't get it.
Well, the nurseries do sell the plants that work because clearly I have to buy those plants. But what the nurseryman doesn't know is your own home. When I come out there and I look at the different locations that are there, I can identify these areas, whether, let's say, it's a southern exposure, a western exposure.
So it's not just a zone then?
Yeah, it takes much more than that. I also look past this. So a nurseryman would never have that kind of knowledge because they don't know what your home looks like. I do know what it looks like because that's the first thing I do is take a look at your garden, and then I determine what plants will grow in those areas. Mm-hmm. And when I look at those areas that are there, I take some things into consideration. I'm thinking long term, so I want to make sure the plant will grow in this zone and will be able to take these winter temperatures, but I also want to make sure that it'll also take and withstand the hot summers that we have. Remember that we're in the high desert here. We have extreme temperatures. The other things that I take into consideration there is the pH of the soil. The pH, it talks about between the alkalinity and your acidity of the soil.
Right.
And in Santa Clarita, by and large, we have alkaline soil. And that tells me immediately I want to select plants that will thrive and tolerate those alkaline conditions. So, give you an example. If somebody said to me, I want to put this camellia in on the side of the house.
You have to add a lot of acid to it.
Well, you've either got to change the soil, you've got to modify that, or better yet, you put that camellia into a pot where I can control the soil, because I know if I put it into the ground, over time, it's not going to thrive. They may survive, but it probably won't thrive. But I also take into consideration, is it a wet area or a dry area? And you'll find in your yard, no sprinkler system is ever perfect, so you tend to find these areas that are a little bit wetter, a little bit drier. I'll look at those areas, and I'll select a plant that can tolerate that little bit wetter area that you might have.
Or we can change the sprinklers.
You could modify the sprinklers, but I can also, let's say your sprinkler system is generally in good shape there, you may not need to change the sprinkler system, but you may want the right plant that can grow in that little bit wetter area, or even a little bit drier area. They're not perfect. I also take a look at the kinds of things in here that you may not consider at first. Is it a windy area? Are you at the top of a hill? Is the wind going to buffet this plant all the time and tear its beautiful flowers off that can't tolerate the wind? So I'll look at that. And I'll also look and see, and this is particularly important when I work with community gardens, work for a lot of HOAs there. What kind of traffic does the area get? Are people likely to cut across the plant or step out of their car or step on a plant? And believe it or not, there are some plants that can take traffic better than others. So when I'm looking at all these conditions in here, I'm also trying to determine what are people going to do to it.
Very good. Well, thanks a lot, Jeff. That was very interesting. And we're going to take a break again. This is Santa Clarita's hometown station, AM 1220, KHTS.